Hi, good morning. Welcome to another one of Ironside's Take 30s. Today is a data science topic. I'm Pam Oscar. I'm the Director of Data Science at Ironside, and I'm joined today by Andrew Fleming, Snowflake Partner Manager, and Jonathan Tower, Snowflake Solution Architect. So some great partners here to talk to you about the power of Snowflake Data Exchange for analytics. Before I turn it over to these two to talk about that, I first just want to mention who Ironside is, that we're a data and analytics consulting firm, and we have over 20 years experience with end-to-end data and analytics capabilities. So pretty much anything that touches data, we can help and support you with if you're struggling with anything you see here on our wheel. Now I'm going to turn it over to, I think, Andrew to start. And before I do, I just quickly want to remind you that if at any point you have any questions, you can type them in the chat box. We're going to leave time for questions at the end where you can chat or take yourself off mute at that point. But at any point, you can enter them right into the chat box, and we'll get to those at the end. All right, go ahead, Andrew.
Thank you, Pam. Really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone, for joining. JT, you want to go on to the next one, please? So we're going to talk about data sharing and the data exchange at Snowflake. And this is a revolutionary idea because what we're doing is we're breaking down the barriers that you see today. What a lot of companies have challenges with is as their organization has grown, their data has grown, and they had to silo that data in physical infrastructure. And a lot of that physical infrastructure didn't talk to each other. So your organization could look just like this. You have databases that don't talk to each other. You've got data warehouses that don't talk to each other. You've got web traffic, third-party traffic, social media traffic, and IoT traffic that you'd like to bring in, and you'd like to aggregate all that data so you can get better data science results out of it. Well, that's where Snowflake comes in and we can help. Next slide, please. And that's with the use of the data cloud. So Snowflake is the only data cloud on the market today. We're the only provider that's focused specifically on data. You have other clouds out there like infrastructure clouds like AWS, Google, and Microsoft. You have CRM clouds like Salesforce. You have marketing clouds like Adobe. Snowflake is the only cloud dedicated to data. And we call ourselves a cloud because part of the native cloud option is being able to connect users and connect data. Any Snowflake user can securely connect with any other Snowflake user, and all of the data can be securely accessed, governed, and actioned internally and also externally within an organization in a very secure manner using roles-based authentication and data sharing. So it's a really great opportunity for you to look at Snowflake as the data cloud to break down all of those silos. You want to move on to the next one, please? Some of the things that we really see from a data sharing perspective are the same methodologies that you've been getting data for the last 15 or 20 years. Data comes in through an FTP site. You pull it in. And I'm talking about external data sources. A lot of people buy data. If you're pulling in data, if you're sharing data, it could be a CSV file. It could be specific ETL pipeline that you've built. It could be specific data marks that the stuff gets fed into. It also could just be that you have to go to a company website and pull down that data into your environment. And all of those things create challenges because not only do you have to bring the data in, now you have to action it. You have to ETL it. You have to do a job to transfer that data so it's in a readable format. And all of that takes time. And the longer that it takes, the more stale that data is. It also, you're pulling that data from that third-party source at a point in time, or you're sharing it internally at a point in time. So it's not the most recent data when you use it. Snowflake changes all of that by giving you native connectivity to the data across your organization or with third-party companies that are in the Snowflake marketplace today. And this is a great example, a visual example of how our customers, we have about 4,200 customers in Snowflake, interact with data in the Snowflake data marketplace. And as you can see, there's certain densities around data sets. One of our partners, Star Schema, published the COVID-19 data set about a year ago. This is the Johns Hopkins data set. To date, it has been the most downloaded and shared data set in the marketplace. It's been shared and downloaded about 4,000 times. So it's almost one-to-one for every customer. But as you can see, the density of that data set is there. There's also other data sets that people are looking at. And today we have over 400 unique data sets and data companies that have published data that you can pull in natively in our Snowflake marketplace. Some of this data is free, like the Star Schema data. Some of the data you can open up a negotiation or you can pay for it, like S&P data, FactSet, There's also a slew of marketing data sources as well. If you move to the next slide, we'll kind of show a real life example. So if you were a marketing company or a CPG or a retail company, you might want to understand a couple of things, right? You might want to be able to take all of your data, but you also might want to understand, hey, how do I figure out a target demographic so I can market against it? How do I look at weather trends to figure out when I should sell a certain product or when I should buy more product or when I should move product around based off of the weather, right? And also understanding, what's brand affinity? What are people purchasing? Well, through the data marketplace, you can acquire all of these data sets natively in Snowflake. You can pull them into your Snowflake environment, and now you can run data science and analytics against all of this information. What it's going to do is it's going to provide you with more insights and better results that you can then bring to the business, so your stakeholders internally, and make recommendations about how you can improve maybe your search results, maybe you can improve your hit results, maybe you can even improve your net bottom line. You want to go on to the next one? I'm going to turn it over to Jonathan, who's going to take you through the platform that this is built on.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. So before we deep dive into a little bit more of the technical capabilities of data sharing and really what this feature enables, it's important to step back and understand what the Snowflake Data Cloud platform is really enabling and how it fits into your organization's data stack. Right? Data sharing is just one piece of the 6 workload puzzle that Snowflake's platform enables. As you can see on the slide, we have 6 key workloads, data warehousing just being one of the 6, despite Snowflake's sort of origins in being a cloud-native data warehouse that the platform truly enables. So with that in mind, seeing on the slide how Snowflake's capable of solving for data engineering workloads, data lake workloads, you begin to start to see and triangulate exactly, how this platform, this data cloud platform, is able to, potentially solve for, what's currently being accomplished by potentially many different services and many different technologies currently going on at your organization. And it's all being done as a managed service on the backs of the 3 major clouds seen below. And really the high-level takeaway, right, is bringing all the different data sources of any type, structured, semi-structured, and soon to be unstructured data, into the hands of the data consumers. Okay, so Andrew kind of showed the before version of how data is shared in traditional means, right? The ones that require ETL, the downloads, the exports, the transformations, right? Secure data sharing is a Snowflake-specific feature that solves for a lot of these problems by providing a way to share data without moving or copying of the data, because it's already within the context of the Snowflake Data Cloud. Because of this, the data provider can issue live data with no delays to any updates of the underlying data sets. And they have full control over what exactly is being shared to data consumers. And they have full visibility and confidence on what exactly is happening and how their data is being consumed at any time. And because, as you saw on the previous slide, Snowflake is available as a managed service across all clouds, there's no limitation on data being shared between regions or between clouds. The Snowflake Data Cloud is completely a multi-cloud experience from an infrastructure standpoint, so data sharing is globally available cross-cloud feature on the platform. Okay. We're going to dive into a little bit about how we've manifested this data sharing feature. Andrew has mentioned the data marketplace, right, which is sort of a public forum that's one-stop shop of seeing available data sources that you can directly, instantly integrate into your data environment, whether it's for free or whether you pay for it. And it's across data sets that are popular across all different verticals, all different industries. There also is an opportunity to build a internal privately curated data marketplace, which we call Private Data Exchange. Think of certain financial institutions or healthcare firms where there are certain personas, certain organizations that they want to securely share data between, but only within the context of those actors. Because, again, the mechanism and the feature is still based on data sharing, that is entirely possible to design between any number of Snowflake accounts. So let's take a look at a company that's doing this today. Square, very, very popular payments company, right, based out of the Bay Area. They're working hand in hand with their marketing vendor, D3. And the data sharing that they're doing is bidirectional, right? So the D3 is sharing Square's campaign results from a marketing standpoint. Square is able to share their usage and telemetry data of the payments and the devices. They're collecting data on that all the time. And that bidirectional direct sharing of data is happening without ETL, without IT involvement, in a way that is powering insights, empowering decision-making for both organizations. So let's drill into a little bit more about the data marketplace that we keep talking about. Here's a closer look at exactly how that looks within the Snowflake account, the Snowflake UI experience. You can also explore the list of data sets on our website. So you don't need to be an existing Snowflake customer to get an understanding of the available data sources and data sets available. It's simply, I believe it's on snowflake.com/data-marketplace, and you should be able to come to a listing of the data sets that looks very similar to this. And like Andrew said, we have over 400 data sets and counting. We definitely add a handful more each month, and this list is growing and growing. It's really sort of an exponential factor of, as the Snowflake Data Cloud grows with more data providers and consumers, it becomes more attractive for data providers to provide a lens or an avenue, a channel to provide their data through Snowflake data sharing, because it's just that much easier to accomplish the act of data sharing using the data marketplace and the data sharing feature of the Snowflake platform. Okay. So like I hinted at before, the private data exchange, this self-governed walled garden, if you will, of data sharing or data collaboration between a distinct, determined amount of Snowflake accounts for n number of organizations, right? Remember, I hinted at the use case being very prevalent in financial institutions or actors within that industry. Same thing goes with healthcare, right? These are ways to gain the benefits and realize the benefits of data sharing while adhering to a lot of the more stringent regulations that are associated with these industries. And we have customers in both industries accomplishing and leveraging this private data exchange feature today. Okay, just to break it down one more time, I really like this this table because it really kind of slices and dices and very clearly shows the differentiators from a feature standpoint between Snowflake data sharing and the traditional methodologies of sharing data back and forth between two entities, right? And really, the pure takeaway, if you only take away one thing on this slide, is the live, no ETL, no delay capability of Snowflake data sharing, right? With that comes a lot of associated benefits that of data sharing because it's on the Snowflake Data Cloud platform, specifically governed revocable access, right? All the actual permissions, both on the provider side of sharing the data as well as the consumer side, right? Just because I'm a consumer accessing data from data sharing, I still may want to specify only certain roles, only certain ways that the data can be accessed and aggregate them as necessary. And that is completely done on the platform through SQL, through role-based access control on that side as well. So having full control over the data access, even though it's being shared through data sharing means, is of course just part of the Snowflake platform. Okay. So what are the actual business value outcomes of leveraging the Snowflake platform, and specifically the data sharing feature underneath or contained within the platform? And really, it's all about reducing costs, time to value, eliminating delays, and realizing more value from having live access to your data sets, right? You're lowering the need for data transformation, data ingestion, so lowering that time and that cost, and replacing it with something that's much more seamless, and again, bringing more value to data as it's updated more frequently and available quicker. Through this, you're also able to unlock new business insights because it's so much easier to bring in new data sets, net new data sets that may not be currently in your data environment. You're really fast tracking sort of the value you're getting from efforts such as data science trainings, or reporting BI side of the house, right? More data, more insights can be gained by sort of combining those data sources amongst each other. And then, of course, you're strengthening the business relationships, right? Because you're providing a secure access to governed data, there is a higher clarity and comfortability between the data that a provider is providing and then the data that eventually hits, right, the consumer of the data, because it's happening in such a seamless fashion through data sharing. And internally, right, you're improving data collaboration across your business ecosystem. On the Snowflake platform, all sort of data consumers intra-organization are going to be leveraging the Snowflake platform for their relevant workloads and relevant use cases. So by having a very rich, confident, and governed ecosystem of data on the Snowflake platform, right, the confidence in data just grows within your organization. So what are some of the takeaways from what we learned today? And where can you sort of take the next steps based on these learnings? Look internally at what data sources you purchased today, right? Kind of assign and understand sort of what the efforts are to actually ingest that data, and what are the efforts that are needed to be taken before it reaches the hands of a consumer, right? Triangulate and cross-reference that with the Snowflake Data Marketplace. There's a link right there, and see if they are one of the 400 or more vendors that we currently have and are providing the data through data sharing in the Data Marketplace. Ironside is definitely ready and willing and able to set up a data workshop to review your data and review these processes. And of course, if you want to also try it for yourself, Snowflake does have a 30-day Snowflake free trial. You get 30 days free. You get a handful of free credits during this time window, where you can sort of start experiencing the Snowflake platform, try out data sharing, as well as the plethora of other features that we have available on the platform.
Great, thank you so much, JT and Andrew. At this time, anybody can enter any questions they have in the chat window. A couple have come in, and I also just want to point out that obviously I'm a big fan of Snowflake myself. I use it internally for data science feature stores and also the data sharing. So it's just a tremendous tool for data scientists to accelerate their work. It looks like a couple questions did come in during the presentation. One of those was about limiting access to data, right? The feature sharing is fantastic and you can spread around, but the question is, how do I limit access to data if I'm setting up a Snowflake environment? How do you establish and control governance?
Yeah, great question. So that happens on both ends. As a data provider, right, being very precise on what data you will be sharing, and on the data consumer side, right, doing necessary aggregations for certain roles that may not be permissed to see certain levels of detail on data sets that have been shared to you via data sharing. Both of those, requirements or both of those tasks are accomplished through role-based access control, industry standard for decades. Should be very comfortable for a lot of individuals, a lot of personas, working with data day in, day out.
Great. Great, thank you. A couple other questions here. How do we get started with Snowflake and the data exchange? I saw on the last slide you had a link to getting started. Is that the best place for someone to jump into this if they want to explore? And then how would they go onto the data exchange and see what's available through that?
Yeah, so for someone interested in consuming data, that's a great way to see what's out there and get started, coupling that with the Snowflake free trial. If you go to our website and you're interested in being a data provider, we have a separate link for, parties are interested in, hosting and providing their data on the data marketplace as well. So sort of two different ways to go about it.
Okay, great. And then another question, is some type of data catalog functionality embedded into Snowflake?
Great question. So currently, I would say we depend on our third-party partners to, perform data cataloging, data lineage type activities. We think of companies like Calibra, Elation. We have great partnerships with them to provide this type of functionality. That being said, we are starting to roll out some sort of fundamental capabilities that could be classified as data cataloging, such as object tagging. So object tagging is something that's rolling out. It's one of the newer features we have, and it's sort of our foray to offer some sort of a fundamental capability in this space.
Oh, that's great. That's news to me too. Looking forward to checking that out. Another question here says, you touched on some of this, but more explicitly, how do people make the trade-offs between using AWS data storage that are integrated with other AWS services compared to using Snowflake in conjunction with AWS?
So that's a good question, because it's going to come down to, obviously AWS, I believe, has their way of sort of adding and enhancing your data sets within the context of that cloud vendor. But it all really boils down to, how are you enabling the consumption, right, of that data, right? So, and this definitely warrants a conversation or maybe another presentation where, I get into the specifics of, the Snowflake's platform as it enables, say, data science, right? Or even cloud data warehousing, how it's different than, say, AWS's offerings, right? So I would say, even though we talked today about data sharing, it's just one piece of the puzzle. I had the slide on the 6 workloads of the Snowflake platform. So when you learn more about that and analyze that in its holistically in its entirety, I think the data sharing piece of Snowflake pairs really nicely with the other workloads that we're able to accomplish.
And I'll add one thing to that. I mean, we are natively stored inside of AWS, GCP, or Azure. So we integrate with the full stack of offerings from the primary cloud vendors. So if there's some specific tool you're using and you're using it with another product, not Snowflake, there's a very, very good chance that that tool is going to work with Snowflake because we work with all the major cloud providers to make sure their functionality works on Snowflake.
Great point.
Great. Great, thank you. I do see another question here. How do you know what's in the data exchange? So I suppose if you're not a current Snowflake customer, is there a way to go in and explore those data sets?
Yeah, so this link right here will take you directly to what's currently offered in the data marketplace. And of course, that is totally accessible to anyone, and they don't have to have a Snowflake account to see what's currently available.
Great. Great. I think that's all of our questions. I thank everyone for coming. I think that there's some great next steps. This was a fantastic overview of the data sharing capabilities. Like JT suggested, there's so many other capabilities to Snowflake. So our partners here or us at Ironside would be happy to set up some time to go into more detail if anyone needs that.